Time for some load development on the old girl. This is my Sako M591 chambered in 22-250. Purchased this rifle brand new back in 1992. Now, despite what the video says, at the time of testing the rifle was actually 28 years old, not 18. Somehow I think I'm 10 years younger than what I really am. Anyway, everyone does load development differently. I'm just a hunter, I'm not a bench rester. As you can see, I just use a bipod in a bag out in the bush, and if I can get some results where I can hit the palm of my hand 5 times out of 5 shots at 200 yards, I'm happy. So if you want to see how I do it, keep watching. Now, everyone does things differently, but this is how I like to test my rifle. I've got 3 different projectiles, and I've also got 3 different loads. So they're all set out there. So we've got the Sierra Game Kings that I would normally use, and I've got 35.7, 36.5, 37.5 grains of powder. Then I've got some VMAX, the Hornadies. These are only 50 grains, these are 55 grain, and these Nosler Varmageddons are also 55 grains. So I've got them all set out, and I want to see which ones happen to group the best. Maybe I'll change projectiles, maybe I'll change loads, not sure. The rifle's 28 years old, it still shoots really good groups, sub-MOA, so I'm happy with that, with hand loads. But I always like to try new things, so we'll give it a crack. It's been years since I've tried anything new, and if we get some good results we might make a change. The rifle's already been thoroughly cleaned, it's had bore solvent through it, done the whole 9 yards, it's nice and clean. So I'm not going to interfere with my results by running these through a clean bore. So what I'm going to do, I'm only out to 100 yards here at the moment. The rifle was sighted in last time I used it, but it's always worthwhile to check, especially if you're going to start doing groupings. So I'm just going to whack through 5 bullets, just the older ones, put them through at 100 yards, make sure the rifle's on song, that when I know everything's good, I'm just going to give it a light brush. I like to sort of fire 5 and then just brush it through, nothing, not a full clean. I want to try and simulate that hunting scenario. So keep the barrel cool, just fire 1 shot, let it cool down a bit, fire another shot. It's only a light barrel, it does get a bit scattery if you put 10 shots through it. By the time you get to 7, the barrel heats up a bit, and you do get the last 3 will end up being flyers. But in a real world situation, 22-250 out hunting, you're not going to be firing 10 shots while the barrel's hot, so that's never really a consideration. But when you're sighting in, it is. So try and simulate the conditions that you're going to be shooting in. Okay, we've done some sighting in at 100 yards. As predicted, the first couple of shots are actually way off. It does seem to happen when you clean the gun too much, so you want to, I think, a bit of copper fouling up the barrel does seem to make it more accurate, gets it steady. Probably put about 12 rounds through it now. At 100 yards the group's tightened up eventually after half a dozen shots. Went out to 150 yards and the last 2 shots are pretty much through the same hole, so happy with that. All I do now is, whether it makes a difference or not, don't know. I don't actually run a brush through it, I just run a little rag through there. Just going to give it a wipe. I'm going to shoot 5, I'll give it a wipe, shoot another 5, give it a wipe, same thing. Does it make a difference? I don't know, but I think consistency is the key. Just do everything the same and you hopefully get good results. So we're back now at 200 yards. We'll run some bullets through it and see what sort of groups we get. The wind's starting to pick up, so that's going to be a bit of a pain. It might be a slow process, just waiting for the gust to die down. Again, take your time. See the wind picking up now. Just wait a minute or so, that'll die down, give you an opportunity to shoot and try and get the best results we can. Righto, we've finished our testing. That's been a really interesting exercise. So we've got all the different rounds there we've been testing. I'll do some proper measurements later, but for the moment we'll just have a quick look. And just remember that these are shot at 200 yards, not 100. So just put little markers on each page. That's 2 inches at 200 yards, so roughly 1 MOE. So bear that in mind. So it's just sort of sighting in between 250 here. The last 2 shots pretty much in the same hole, so it's got potential. So the Sako 22-250, it's a model M591, bought it brand new in 1992. This is now being filmed in November 2020, so the thing's 18 years old, coming on for 19. It's had thousands of rounds through it. I'm surprised that the barrel still is pretty good. Does it shoot as good as it used to? Don't know. I don't think it does, but anyway, we will show you what we quickly found. So bearing in mind, again, these are all at 200 yards, not 100. Today's conditions have been a bit windy every now and again, so it's got a bit of a factor in it. And just shooting off a bipod, but then again, that's what I normally do when I'm out hunting or spotlighting, so that's what I wanted to replicate. But with the standard rounds that I was using before, not brilliant. And that was with the Sierra Game Kings. Then I went on to the VMAX, Hornady VMAX, which are only 50 grain, little polymer tip on them. And the results on those, like again, if you count, possibly a flyer, pretty good at 200 yards. Again, these markings, that's 1 MOA. And I've got 3 different rounds because I've got 3 different loads for each projectile. So they weren't too bad. Then I went on to the nozzle of Armageddon. They were 55 grain. And again, that's 1 MOA. Not bad. That one, again, maybe a flyer, maybe not. So I'll do some proper measurements when I get home. So then I started thinking the Sierras that I was using, that I've been using for years and years, maybe a little bit unfair because they're coming out of a relatively clean barrel. I did fire some rounds through it, side in, and put a bit of lead and copper through the barrel. But I thought maybe it's an unfair advantage for these other two to get even more rounds through the barrel, so I've just put up another target, fired another 5 rounds, and that's the result. So it's looking like the Sierras are not as well flying as what the VMAX and the Nozzlers are, so there you go. Yes, that's the Nozzler of Armageddon, and it's a little flat base where the Hornady VMAX is also a boat tail. And here's the results. Now remember that I was target shooting here off a rest but at 200 yards. The reason I chose 200 and not 100 is because I normally spotlight with this rifle, and the majority of times the shots are taken at 200 yards, so it's zeroed in for 200, so why not get some realistic data. So as you can see, I started off with the Sierra Game King 55 grain boat tails. 37.5 is pretty hot load, but that's what I've been running in that rifle for 20 years. But if you look at the 5-shot group, 108, 80 for a 4-shot group, and then I measured down the closest 3, got 52. The average of those was 80. Then I did it for each. So I went 37.5 grains, 36.5 grains, 37.5 grains. Then I changed over to the Hornady VMAX, did exactly the same thing. Then I went over to the Nozzler, shot 35.7, 36.5, 37.5. Now, and then this target number 10, that is going back to the original 37.5 grains with the Sierra Game Kings, just to see as a result. So when you look at 5-shot, we got 97 at the end. We started off with 108. 4-shot we got 80, we got 60, 50 and 52. So the average was 80 the first time round, 69 the second, so it's fairly consistent. But clearly the winner was target number 7. So if we start down, our 3-shot measured 20 millimeters at 200 yards, so the closest 3 shots out of a 5-shot group. I don't know whether they were the first 3 or the last 3, but the closest 3 were 20 mil, 41 for a 4-shot, and 50. So 50 at 200 yards is 1 MOA. So out of a hunting rifle, I think that's pretty good. I also went through and checked the powder to work out which gave me the best groups in averages. So what I did find, 36.5 is the best average down here, but looking up at this one, I think I'd run 35.7 with the Nozzlers. It's going to give me the most accurate out of that rifle. So that's our target number 7. So that's 5 shots at 200 yards out of a Sako 22-250 1991 model, an M91 they call it. I reckon that's pretty good. Anyway, time to go spotlighting again. Sleep when you're dead.